Yo, what's up? I'm going to talk about one of the bases that underlies that laser beam in the second drop. It's going to be the first base that you hear in the drop that sits underneath it. So let's check it out. Alright, so with this base, I will play it on its own so you can get an idea of what it sounds like. So this is it, just on its own. There you go. That's that sound. So then if we go into Serum, I can show you what I've done. Oh geez, wrong thing to click on. So let's start with the sub. I am using the sub oscillator with a direct out. And then I am automating the volume with this LFO, LFO1. Then I'm using the noise oscillator as well, using this particular wavetable there. And I am also using LFO1 to automate its volume a little bit. Didn't mess with the pitch at all, or the random, anything like that. Then with oscillator A, I just used a sample that from one of my sample libraries, with a plethora that I own, just tossed it in there and broke it down, tweaked it, did a little bit of processing to it inside Serum, and then found a section that I liked that I thought had nice harmonics to it. And so I landed on this very small section right here that you can see that I'm using with LFO1 there. Then I'm using the Bend Plus with LFO1, automating that. And then also the volume. And then I am using LFO2 on oscillator A. On the Bend Plus, going in the opposite direction. I don't know. When I do sound design, I just kind of keep trying random things until something sounds good. This, I guess to me, on that day of sound design, sounded good. So there you go. Even though it's in literally the opposite direction. Like, look at the knob. Look at the knob. LFO2, LFO1. It's almost like the equal amount of distance in opposite directions. However, definitely different shapes here. Definitely different shapes. So I'm sure that's, yeah, doing a bunch of weird stuff. Also a different rate, I think, of LFO. Yeah, different rates of LFOs as well. So it's going to definitely kind of modulate in a weird type of way. Anyway, filter. Using the filter oscillator, blah, 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 can't speak. And using LFO1 on the cutoff as well there. And then you can see I boosted the drive and fat, and I think I ended up bringing the resonance down or up. I don't really remember where Serum defaults its resonance knob. So let's talk about the LFO, or this is the LFO right here. I've got a trigger put on, BPM and anchor, and then set to 1/4 BPM of 91 BPM. This is the shape that I chose, pretty simple, nothing crazy going on there. And then LFO2 is at a half a beat, and this is its shape. And it's going to one other thing. LFO9 goes to 9 things. We found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the front. That means probably in the effects, there's some stuff happening here. Let's check it out. Distortion, using 0 square. With that much drive, am I doing? Yep, I figured. Okay, LFO2 is also going to the drive of the distortion, so kicking it like way up, all the way. And then LFO9 is controlling the mix of the distortion. Then I'm using the chorus. I turned the rate all the way down, put these barely off of each other, 0.2 milliseconds off of each other. Like I said, I just tweak things until it sounds nice to me. And then using 13.3 milliseconds on the depth, 70% feedback on the chorus, and then I am automating the mix of the chorus with LFO1 as well. I'm using a compressor with the multiband function on it. I chose these settings. Yeah, this is, yeah, I just tweaked more things there. I don't know how else to explain that. It's hard when you don't like necessarily, it's kind of like you know what you're doing and you know the sound that you're looking for. It's just that you're going to just try a bunch of different stuff until you get there. And so you kind of just, at least for me, I just kind of let my brain turn off in a way, and just kind of go until I hear what I'm looking for, out of that particular setting or that particular plugin, whatever, that particular section, oscillator, filter, you know, looking for different things when I use each one, and I know what I'm looking for within that sound. It's just I have to tweak those particular settings until I get there. Anyway, back to the sound design. Here we go. The gefilte fish. I'm using a high pass 18 to get rid of that sub. I'm doing LFO1 cutoff as well. And this was actually interesting. I'll talk about this for a minute. So this was the first song that I've really tried to do sound design like this when it comes to basses. I haven't really dabbled in bass sound design in a long time. The last time I did it, Serum didn't exist. If that, you know, if you want to put that into perspective, I was using things like Massive and Razor. Didn't have all these neat little things, and I understood the idea of, you know, high pass the bass sounds and then put a nice clean sub underneath it. However, for me, I found out using this sub oscillator, which I don't typically use if I'm doing like big saw chords and stuff like that. I'll just make another synth and then put the sub underneath it, or make a sub and then put it underneath that Serum patch. But this, when I hit direct out here, I thought that it would just automatically high pass the sound that you've made. I guess that's stupid to think now that I'm actually saying it out loud, but that's what I thought. I thought that it high passed the sound and then just inserted the sub cleanly underneath the sound. Does not do that. So for a while when I was trying to mix a song, I was like, frick, why is this like sub all over the place in the second drop? So I then realized that, yeah, it doesn't, all it took was for me to declick the sub oscillator and realize that there was still a ton of sub happening with like the normal bass sound. And I was like, frick, need a high pass. So that's where that high pass came from. That was a long story about that, but it's, yeah, that's a real thing. And that's what happens with sound design. So let's move out of Serum. This is already turning into a long video, but I don't care. So moving out of Serum, am I doing any automation here? No, the only automation looks like that I'm doing on the actual sound itself is muting it, because I think there was some weird feedback tail that comes out after the MIDI note is let go. So I just muted it. So then I'm using my Fat Rack right here. I did tweak a bit of settings, like I turned this down. I think I turned this one down as well, this OTT. Probably did a few other things, but these are all the plugins that I'm using on it in my Fat Rack. And if I close that, the only other stuff outside of it is going to be an EQ8 with these settings. I'm cutting out like the very, very low end, 26.1 hertz. I am also putting a dip of 6 dB at 97.9 hertz. And then I just monoed the sound out and used that utility as well to do that volume automation I was just talking about. So, and I guess, you know, let's just continue the tradition here, even though I only did it once so far. But the name of this track was "You Have Disturbed My Slumber." Listen, I like to get into it, you know. But once again, that is this sound right here. Just a distorted freaking greatness. And then if we just do it in the context of everything with a little bit of build up in the beginning. Oh, that other bass is for another video. Anyway, so that is the sound, the first bass sound that underlies the high beam sound in the second drop of Marked which is out on Apple Music, Spotify, iTunes. I have a YouTube visualizer up as well. You can definitely find all the links to those down in the description. Check out my Instagram. Thanks for watching. I hope you had a great weekend. See you later.